Hey guys, Lauren Isaacs here. I wanted to make a video discussing the recent developments with Israel and the UAE. So first and foremost, Hirut Canada's position is that we don't support these accords, the United Arab Emirates normalizing relations with Israel. And my personal position, which is what I'll speak from today, is I also don't support it. I actually think it's a tragedy. And I'll tell you why. But before I get into that, I want to preface this entire video by saying I respect everyone who does support this stuff. And I respect everyone who's saying that this is good for Israel. And I hope that we can disagree, if we do disagree, in a respectful, constructive fashion, because I know that ultimately everyone's goal here is Zionism. We're all in the same boat. We have love for the Jewish state and the Jewish people, and we want what's best for that whole enterprise, right? But it's okay if we disagree. I hope it can be constructive. I totally respect you if you do think this is a good thing. Let me explain why I think it's not. So today, the UAE has normalized relations with Israel for the first time historically. And one thing that it's contingent on, which is the main thing I'm going to focus on right now, is the stopping of annexation in Judea and Samaria. Why do I put annexation in quotes? Number one, because I hate that term. And number two, because you can't annex something that you already own, obviously. And I've discussed that at length in other videos, so I'm not going to belabor the point. But yes, we own it in every way under international law. You can't annex something that is yours. But by saying that these relations are going to be normalized only on the contingency of not continuing to declare sovereignty in that area, that's problematic. First of all, that's not an ally. Everyone's saying right now online, I'm seeing a lot of the UAE is Israel's newest kind of ally and friend. A real ally, a true ally, would not expect a country to endanger itself. Number one, to give up its biblical heartland, and number two, to physically endanger itself and put it at security risk for the land and all its people. So I don't think that ally is an appropriate term to use right now with regard to the United Arab Emirates. Number two, I think people are losing sight of the point. I think people are losing sight of the point. What do I mean? Peace is not the goal. It's not the point. It's not the ultimate desire of Zionism. That's not what Zionism means. Of course we want peace, and we are the most peaceful people in the world, and we strive for peace, and the lengths we go to protect even one human life, even dead people who've died, and we want to get bodies back for Israel, the lengths we will go to respect a body of a soldier or an Israeli or a Jewish person or anyone is unbelievable, because we value peace and human life. But peace is not the end. Peace is a means to an end. It's not the end in and of itself. So what I mean is that Zionism, Jewish survival and self-determination and civil rights in the land of ancient Israel, that's the end. Peace is only a means to an end. If peace were the ultimate end, there are a multitude of ways that we could achieve peace quite quickly, and we haven't done them. For example, one way we could achieve peace, at least in the Middle East, is we could all get up and leave. I think that if all the Jews got up and abandoned Israel and renounced the state of Israel and said, we're going to live in Boca Raton, or we're going to live in Uganda or New Zealand or anywhere, there'd be a lot more peace in the Middle East, at least temporarily here. So I think when we say peace is the number one goal, we're losing sight of the point. And I think that's what's confusing a lot of people as well. Sure, people are saying that this is going to be good, geopolitically, socioeconomically. Yes, economically, it may be good. I agree with you. This may bring economic prosperity, mostly to the UAE. They're going to benefit economically far more than Israel is, to be honest, but that's besides the point. Say everyone prospers economically. Say this is the greatest thing to ever happen economically, and everyone becomes rich from this deal. Is that what's most important to us as Zionists? So what? So what if everyone, becomes economically prosperous? That doesn't matter if we're giving up land, if we're giving up ideology, if we're giving up history, if we're negotiating ourselves out of existence like we have done for several years, and we continue to do. Our land piece is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. If we continue to negotiate ourselves out of existence, who cares how wealthy our little piece is? Who cares how wealthy, the United Arab Emirates is? Who cares? We don't want to lose sight of what actual Zionism is and what it means to be Jewish in our Jewish homeland. Our ancestors who fought and died for this land, for the last 3,000 years vying for this land, it wasn't just so that we could appease our Arab neighbors. Remember, land for peace has never worked. Appeasement has never worked. Appeasement comes with Jewish genocide. Appeasement comes with destruction for Jews. Appeasement comes with murder of Jews. So appeasement has never worked. Land for peace has never worked. Granted, everyone's going to cite the Sinai as an example of when it did work. That's an outlier. We can do a whole video on why that's not indicative of actual, Israel-Arab relations, but that's for another video. The point is, 99% of the time, land for peace doesn't work. So why are we still acquiescing and appeasing our enemies by giving up land? And that's what we're doing. Because by stating that indefinitely, we are not going to declare sovereignty over Judea and Samaria, our biblical heartland, it is saying to the entire world that it is not our land to have. It is not our land to have. And that is a lie. And that's a problem. And I just don't want people to get confused. And a lot of people online are celebrating. Before we celebrate with wild abandon, let's remember that we are still oppressed in our land by surrounding Arab neighbors who want our destruction. I can't raise the Israeli flag on the Temple Mount without being arrested. That's in Israel proper. I can't go into Bethlehem. Not even at all. I can't set one foot into Bethlehem as a Jew. Why? Because in the words of a good friend of mine who works in the security industry, if I walk into Bethlehem as a Jew, I'll be raped and lynched if I'm lucky. So these are problems. The fact that we're still oppressed in our own land and we're still trying to do this land for peace thing where we are negotiating our bit smaller and smaller and smaller, that's problematic. Let's not lose focus on true Zionism, true civil rights. Jewish self-determination is the point. That's the point. The land is sacred. The land is implicit in our identity. We can't just be giving it away, or else we may as well have accepted Herzl's Uganda plan and just go set up a state in Uganda. But why? There's no meaning, there's no connection, there's no point. We live and die for this land. Thousands of people have and thousands of people will. We are an eternal people. Remember, we were here long before the surrounding Arab nations, the enemies of Israel right now. We were here long before and we will be here long after. We are eternal. We shouldn't get distracted by deals, temporary things that are going on now that actually aren't beneficial in the long run for Jewish self-determination. Anyway, that's what I have to say. I have a ton more to say, but I hope that we can agree. If we disagree, I hope that it's amicable. I hope that it's respectful. Hopefully we can have constructive dialogues. Let's keep thinking. Let's keep talking. Yisrael Chai. Yisrael Chai. It means something. I know you guys believe it too. Take care.